and I was stuck because I had hit the ceiling. Wasn't making enough money to hire people to help me, but I was too busy to do more in order to make more money to get to the point where I could hire. So I was stuck in this zone of being so busy, but yet not being busy enough. So back when I shot my first wedding, I actually charged $300 to shoot my first wedding. I was 17 years old, and I agreed to this wedding because I really needed $300. Well, after I took the booking, I went home and I started Googling, what do I need to know and what gear do I need to photograph a wedding? And I quickly figured out that I, first of all, did not have the knowledge, and second, I did not have the gear. So I ended up selling a couple of extra pieces of gear that I had, and I raised $300 from gear sales, and I took the $300 that the client paid me and the $300 that I made from selling gear, and I paid $600 to rent a couple lenses and a couple flashes so that I would be prepared for this wedding. So all in total, I got paid negative $300 for my first wedding. Now, of course, this was a huge learning experience, and looking back on it now, it was totally worth it. But that was the start of my career. And so as you can imagine, when I crossed into earning $3,000 a month as a wedding photographer, I was pretty happy. And then 3,000 turned into 6,000, and then 6,000 turned into 10,000. And once I got to about $10,000 a month, I felt stuck. And I was stuck because I had hit the ceiling. And why did I hit the ceiling? Well, I was doing everything by myself. All of the lead generation, all of the social media, all of the booking, the admin, the contracts, the client communications, the editing, the delivery, the phone calls, the consultations, everything I did by myself. And I was maxed out at $10,000 a month. I couldn't cross more than $10,000 a month because I was at capacity. I was in this situation where I wasn't making enough money to hire people to help me, but I was too busy to do more in order to make more money to get to the point where I could hire. So I was stuck in this zone of being so busy, but yet not being busy enough. And if you've been in the industry for any period of time, you very likely know what I'm talking about. And so once I hit that ceiling of $10,000 a month, I needed to game plan on how I was going to break through. So as I started to analyze and reflect on my business and start to understand how it is that I got to this point, there were a few key things that I started to notice. One, I didn't really have any real systems. I was just kind of doing everything on the fly as needed. I was a very chaotic, and I was constantly putting out fires. It was always a client calling and they need this and I jump on it. And then another client calls and they need that and I would jump on that. And then a client needs a Photoshop and I would do that. And then there's a marketing event and I have to go do that because I need more leads. And it was just pure chaos. And that's because I had no system, no repeatable formulaic processes for each part of my business. So I started thinking about the different components of my wedding photography business. I've got the lead generation. This is everything to do with generating leads. This is all my marketing channels. This is my website, my Yelp, my Google reviews, my Instagram, etc. It's all of my lead generators, all the things that are bringing eyeballs to my work and converting those eyeballs to leads. And so I started thinking, how do I systematize this? How can I How can I automate this? How can I create a system where I don't have to jump on every networking event? I don't have to cold DM 150 people a week to get phone calls to hopefully find a client. And then beyond that, it's all the pre-production stuff, all the planning, all the contracts, all the back and forth, the consultations, the emails, the everything. How do I systematize this? Then there's the client onboarding and getting them into the contract and all of that. And of course, I didn't have a system. I had no CRM. I was just doing everything literally on my own. And it was pure chaos. And I don't miss those times at all. And if you're in this situation right now, I sympathize with you because that was probably the most difficult time in my career. And then beyond that, you have your production stuff, your shooting and all that. And then you have your post-production, editing and everything else. And it was just too much to handle. And I topped out at $10,000 a month. I couldn't really raise my prices because I felt that there wasn't enough demand for me to raise my prices. And I couldn't really generate more demand because I was already slammed. I had no ability to work more on top of the crazy work I was already doing. So what's the solution to this? Well, first of all, I started incorporating some software help. So I started getting into finding a good CRM. Now, a CRM is a client relationship manager. A good CRM will have a lot of things. It'll have built-in contracts. It may have built-in invoicing. It will have built-in questionnaires. It will have the ability to email. It'll have a lot of features built in that will streamline a lot of that process. And so at least you can remove the contracts off your plate and you can remove some of the questionnaires and the interviewing and the emailing and the reminders and the follow-up and things like that. So you can at least eliminate a good portion of work from there. So software helped a lot with CRMs and with social media scheduling software, allowing me to sit down on a Sunday and schedule out 100 social media posts so that I wasn't scrambling every single day to get my next post out. And so if you start to analyze your business and start to understand every single process within your business, you can start to find solutions in terms of software, in terms of automation, in terms of finding ways to offload a lot of your workload in that way. So that was step one. Step two was hiring. Step two was really starting to identify what it is that I was really bad at and finding people that could help me. And one of the first things I noticed is I'm not a very good writer. And this was back before ChatGPT existed. And so I was writing my own blog posts and the quality of them was never quite that good. And it would always take me like 2 weeks to finish one blog post because I was just like suffering through it and spending like dozens and dozens and dozens of hours doing something that I hated. And the end result was bad anyway. And so I started looking into hiring people who could do these things faster and for less money and better. And so little by little, I started to offload my responsibilities. And that really helped me free up enough time to really focus on how I can generate more demand. And once I generate more demand, then I can justify a price increase. And then I can move past that plateau and I can get to the place that I need to be. So if you are currently stuck in this position, I encourage you to write down every single operation within your business. Everything from where do you find your leads to how do you contact those leads to how do you go about your booking process, your contract process, your content delivery, everything. Write it all down and start to look into how you can automate some of it using software. Once you have maximized your software, once you can no longer delegate to a software. So once you have your contracts via software, your client communication via software, your social media marketing via software. Once you have really maximized your ability to do things with software, then you need to start looking into hiring. Delegating out your weaknesses first, strengthening up the areas that you feel that you are weak so that you can thereby increase the value of your business while also buying yourself more time. When you buy yourself more time, you can then lean into the things that you are good at and use those things to generate more revenue. Once you generate more revenue, you can then justify paying the people that you've hired. So it is a little bit of a self-fueling machine. You need to offload the things that are keeping you burnt out so that you can actually generate more money, so then you can actually redirect that money to the appropriate places. And so if you're currently stuck in this situation, those are the two major areas I would focus on. Now, there are other things you can do to break through this plateau, but if you really just focus on those two, you can go a very, very long way. You can likely double or triple your yearly revenue. And then with that, you can start to make better decisions, more long-term decisions, because you'll have the cash flow to support those decisions. So if you find this type of content useful, make sure to subscribe. I will be doing this often. I am bridging the gap between entrepreneurship and creativity, and I am helping creators grow and scale their businesses in a sustainable way.